Hey Math 8, today we are going to start out with our Algebra 1 preparation stuff. So that's why it says Algebra Prep Day 1. I know it says that. This wasn't supposed to be for my algebra class. But yeah, so we are going to go ahead and get started with it. And we're going to just start out with some bell work here. Okay, it says what is the slope-intercept equation of the purple line and what is the slope-intercept equation of the blue line? So go ahead and take a minute to do those really quickly. And then after you are done, go ahead and resume the video and we will just go ahead and move on. All right, so hopefully you have had a chance to do the bell work. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you the solutions and make sure we're on the same page. This is supposed to be just a recap of what you've been doing, not only during 8th grade, but probably a lot in 7th grade and probably maybe even in 6th grade. So as a reminder, slope-intercept form should be in this form y equals mx plus b. All right. So then we want to make our equations. So if we look at number 1 for the purple line, just as a reminder, m is your slope. Okay, you need to remember that. You have to have that remembered and memorized. Same thing with b. You have to have memorized that that is the y-intercept. Okay, so if we look at the first one, we have this line, and if we look for m, our slope, we can do rise over run. So from this point here to this point here, you can see that we go up 1, 2, 3, 4. And our run is over 1. Okay, if we do rise over run, that's 4 over 1, which just equals 4. Okay, so 4 is our slope. All right, and then if we go ahead, I'm going to erase that really quick. Hopefully, I will erase that. There we go. All right, so we got that our slope is 4, and then for our y-intercept, or b, all we're doing is looking at where it crosses this line right here, the y-axis. Okay, and you can see that is this point here, and that was at y equals 5. So our y-intercept is 5. All right, and that is it for finding the slope and y-intercept. Then all you got to do is plug into y equals mx plus b. Okay, m we found is 4. So y equals 4x, and b is 5. So y equals 4x plus 5 would be our slope-intercept form for this, this line. All right, so that is it for finding those. I am not going to walk you through how to find the second one. I will tell you the answer, though. It should have been y equals negative 3/4 x minus 1. Common mistakes, you could see maybe 4/3 x or negative 4/3 x. Just make sure you're doing your rise, which for this one would be 3, over your run, which would be 4. All right, so be careful on that as you move forward. And then another common mistake is you maybe would have had 3/4 for your m. Okay, keep in mind that this is negative. You can see that just by seeing that as we go right, the graph is going down. So when we looked at scatter plots, one big thing was positive or negative correlations. If this was our line for a scatter plot, you should be able to see that that would be a negative correlation because it's going down instead of up. All right, so make sure you recognize that needs to be a negative slope. So it should be negative 3/4. Okay, that is it for the bell work. We will go ahead and move on into the actual algebra prep. All right, so for this portion of the algebra preparation, we are looking at graphing systems of equations, and we're going to talk about what systems of equations are and how to find the solutions to them with graphing. Okay, so today we'll be graphing. The next upcoming lessons will have solving them algebraically, solving systems of equations algebraically without the graph. But for today, we will just be looking at the graph. So to start out, we got a little bit of vocabulary here. It says 2 or more equations with the same set of variables is called and that's going to be a system of equations. All right, so really all that means is if we have two equations that both have y and x, or let's say maybe m and n, right? If they both have the same variables, then they are going to be a system of equations, okay? Those can be graphed on the same graph, and that's kind of the next part. It says you can find the solution of a system of equations. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. You can find a solution of a system of equations by graphing the equations on the same coordinate plane. All right. So if you have two equations, we can just graph them on the same coordinate plane. As we get into the examples, you'll see how that works. All right. And then last, we have the ordered pair for the point of intersection on the graph is the solution for the system because the point of intersection simultaneously satisfies both equations. All right, and again, we're going to get into what all of that means. I know that kind of maybe just seems like a big jumble of words right now, but we're going to get into how to work with these and what this stuff actually means. So let's look at the first one. It says, solve the system of equations by graphing each equation on the same coordinate plane. All right, so our first step here is to just graph. All right, we're going to go ahead and graph it. So we have y equals negative 2x minus 3. I'm going to do that in this dark blue color that I've been using anyway. And y equals 2x plus 5. I'll do that in this red color just so you guys can see it. Okay, so for the first one, I'm going to look first at my y-intercept. That's negative 3. I'm going to put a point there, and then I am going to put points so that we have rise over run is negative 2 over 1. So that would be from where I started at that negative 3. We're going to go over 1 and down 2 to this point right here. Okay, if we go backwards, we would get a point right here, and right here, and so on and so on, right? We can go all the way up here if we wanted to, okay? So our graph for that one should look like this, okay? And then, so that is the first one. The second one is 2x plus 5. So my y-intercept is 5, okay? And then we are going up 2 each time. Obviously, I can't go up this way because the graph's not there. So I'm going to just go down, go backwards. And you can see right away where the intersection is going to occur. All right, and I'm going to call it good there. All right, so right away you can see where those points intersect. And that is actually all you have to do, right? Just recognize where that intersection is. It's right there. That has to be our, that has to be our solution to this system of equations. Okay, so in order to express that, the solution would be the ordered pair of negative 2, and that is positive 1. Okay, so it's just the ordered pair of that point. The negative 2 is the x, the 1 is the y. All right, that is it for solving systems of equations. All right, so what I want you to do next is instead of just having one got it problem, I'm going to have you pick 2 of these other 3 to go ahead and do on your own. Okay, so you need to do 2 of them. All right, and that is your got it problem for this example. Okay, and then we will go over those together as a class when we get there. All right. So go ahead and do that, pause the video, and then we will return. All right, so hopefully that went well, and we will go ahead and get into some stuff about the number of solutions we have when we graph these. All right, so first of all, if the lines intersect, there's going to be one solution. All right, that's like the ones we did up here where we had those intersecting lines. Okay, the next one, it says if the lines are parallel, there is no solution, okay? And the reason is when you have parallel lines, let's say we had a line here and here, these two lines are never going to intersect, right? So there will never be an ordered pair that they share, that they have in common. So there will be no solution if the lines are parallel, okay? And then lastly, if the lines are the same, there are infinitely many solutions, or you can just put infinite solutions is fine. All right, and that's going to be one where they're actually just the same line. Okay, so we will see that as we get into these examples. All right, so let's go ahead and get into one of these examples. Again, I'm just going to do red and blue. So we'll make the first one red and the second one blue. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and show you how these would work out. So for this one, we're just going to go ahead and graph just like we did before. I'll start with the top one, the y equals 2x plus 1. The y-intercept is 1. Okay, and then our slope is 2. So we're going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And then we can go backwards to finish this off as well. Okay, and guys, you don't have to graph as many points as I'm doing here. I just want to make it very clear what the graph looks like. So if you do less points, it's not a big deal. Just do make sure you have at least 3. All right, and then the second one, we have y equals 2x minus 3. So I'm going to go to my y-intercept, which is -3 right here. And then from there, I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and that's it for this graph. Okay. All right, so you can see by looking at this, these two lines are parallel. All right, which means they will never intersect. So that means there are no solutions. All right, and that is it for that problem. All right, I want you to go ahead and try this one out on your own. It's going to be a little bit different from the last one, but see if you can figure out what the answer would be for it. Okay, one quick thing, you are going to have to transfer this, or you may decide that you need to transfer it to slope-intercept form. Really, it's just the order is mixed up. But go ahead and give it a try and see if you guys can figure that one out. All right, so one last thing we're going to do here is we're going to look at a word problem. Okay, it says Creative Crafts gives scrapbooking lessons for $15 per hour plus a $10 supply charge. Scrapbooks Incorporated gives lessons for $20 per hour with no additional charges. Write and solve a system of equations that represent the situation. Interpret the solution. Okay, so we need to come up with 2 equations first. All right, so the first one, we've got $15 per hour plus a $10 supply charge. Okay, we've talked about it before. Anytime you see that word per right here, that means that is going to be your slope. So if we use the form y equals mx plus b, that first equation is going to be y equals, our slope is the part with the per, that's the 15. X stays the same as well. And then last is b, that's the one-time fee that you have to pay. Okay, so there's a $10 supply charge. That's going to be the plus 10 here. All right, then for our other one, we have $20 per hour and no additional charges. Okay, so what that's going to mean is we're going to have y equals, and it's going to be mx plus b still. M is now 20 because it's the part with the per. And then no additional charges. Whenever you see that, right, that's going to be 0. Okay, you don't have to keep that plus 0. I'm going to go ahead and erase it, and that's our equation. Okay, because when we add 0, we don't do anything, so we don't need it there. All right, so from there, I am ready to graph. So we're going to go ahead and look at, let's do the red one first. We have 15x plus 10. So we start at 10, that's our y-intercept, and then we go up 15 for every 10. Now notice your scale here is not going by 1. That means you need to keep that in mind as you go. All right, so for the first one, if we went up 15 from 10, 15 plus 10 is 25, so we need to be at 25, and then we went over 1. Okay, so that'll be right there. This one is our next point. Here's our next point, and so on, right, all the way up. Oh, that was a bad line. And there's our graph. Okay. All right. Then we have our second one. Y equals 20x. Okay. The y-intercept was 0. You can tell because there's nothing there. Also, we said it was plus 0. Okay. And then we go up 20 over 1 for our slope. Up 20 over 1. Up 20 over 1, up 20 over 1, and so on. Okay, and now we are looking, it says write and solve a system of equations that represents the situation. We did that, okay, and then interpret the solution. Well, in order to do that, we want to look at where they are the same. That's going to be this point right here at 240. So our ordered pair is going to be 240. And then it says interpret. So what that means is at 2 hours, right? Because our x is 2, or is hours, and our y is total cost. So at 2 hours, they will both cost $40. All right. And that is it. That is the full interpretation of that problem. All right, so there's a good example of a word problem, and that is it for this video. So again, it's a little bit longer, but we got some good information. There was quite a bit of information. So if you have questions, please ask them. And then that's it for this video. So I will see you guys in class.